Okay, they can hear us.
Can they now?
They can. Hang on. Gotta get everything all... Can
Oh
you guys
wow!
hear
See,
us? Can
see
you?
the D&D Beyond overlay is up, and if you slide over, you can look and see the Kess has 35 points. Everybody else is full.
Hang on.
on HP.
If we're jumping in,
We're not going there. We
quick-
don't have to go there.
Okay, because I have to put up the spoiler little thing on the screen so people know.
This will be a spoiler-laden episode.
Yeah. How does stream sound, guys? Is Zach a good volume? Am I a good volume?
Am I?
How are we doing?
Good volume. Good. Are we doing good? Also, chat. Hi. How are you? We've been talking about our volume. How's your volume? How is your volume? How is the volume of life?
Yeah.
For you.
Sorry. Just really liking this music. Sounds good?
Yay.
Great.
So, everyone, welcome to Spilling the Ale, which is our talk show for the Secret Adventure Society. On Spilling the Ale, if you've never joined us before, what we do is we take the campaign that we run, for which we just finished session 16 last week, and we talk to the players and sort of gauge what is going on in the characters' brain holes, and you guys actually get to ask questions. So if you have questions, Locke, just put it in the chat, but you can hit ! SAS questions like I'm typing in now.
Oh, you're typing it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
And you can ask your question there, and I might be able to ask Locke how it is. Ask Locke whatever it is that you want to know, perhaps. We have a lot to talk about.
I do want to say that this episode was supposed to be a girls episode. Jen was supposed to be on here with me, but she's not feeling great. She's fine. She's needing rest. So
Rest is a thing people need from time to time, so I'm told.
Yeah, so you just get me and Zach.
Womp, womp.
Just us.
Jen. Yeah. Yeah, we wish Jen could be here. I was looking forward to a SAS Girls Night, but
yeah, we'll do one. We're gonna have a SAS Girls Night. Definitely 100%. But sometimes
tonight wasn't the night.
Yeah, sometimes you just need rest, man. Can honestly
totally.
just
call her out.
I didn't call her out. I'm
She
just
feels
letting
better
you
soon.
guys know she's okay. I wanted you guys to know that it wasn't just supposed to be me, because I feel like this is very pretentious.
It's kind of like,
I
hey,
feel
it's
really
me.
awkward.
It's my channel. Here I am talking about me and my character. Yeah, no, I understand. And I think chat does too. Yeah, no, that's perfectly valid. And Spilling the Ale has been a little bit tumultuous lately anyway, because 2 weeks ago there was some shit going on in the world.
Yeah.
So we didn't feel like it was right to do a Spilling the Ale that night either.
Yeah. And that one was supposed to be Eric and Hrothmar.
Yeah, Augustus and Dorf.
But fun fact, our next Spilling the Ale episode will have all cast members on it.
We hope it'll have all cast members. It's going to be like as many people as it's kind of just it's going to be like a round table.
We're going to grab as many as we can. So
that's what we're going to go for anyway. Yeah.
Anyways.
Should be fun. So anyway, welcome. Again, if you have questions, I'm going to click over. If anyone has questions, please feel free to use the Slido link and ask that question there. And just as a point of order, it's not just for Locke. If you have anything to ask me, I can't promise I can answer it because DM secrets and all that. But if you have any questions for me, you can also send those.
Yes.
So, Locke.
Hang on, wait. Do I need to put the spoiler?
Yes.
Thing, the spoiler tag. Okay.
We have like 2 episodes to catch up on.
It's okay.
Yeah. Like we have a lot to talk about. And like this still might be a little bit shorter. This might be a little bit shorter of an episode just because it's just the two of us. So we can probably power through a lot pretty quickly. But question, Zach, can you give me all your DM secrets, plebe? Well, That's my secret, Speb. I'm always plebe. That didn't work. That joke didn't work. Maybe
Yeah,
someone
you're fine.
laughed.
You're fine.
Maybe one person laughed.
I laughed inside.
No, you didn't. It's okay. I know when you're laughing on the inside. When I've known you long enough to know that if you're not laughing on the outside, you're not laughing on the inside.
You know,
at least when it comes to me. Maybe when it comes to me, right?
maybe.
Okay, that's what I thought. Hate to be blunt, but that was horrible. No, Narwhal, that's you can be blunt because
Okay.
it was insert laugh here. Thank you, Kia. Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on from that horseshit joke. So Locke. Okay, we're gonna rewind the videotape a little bit. We're gonna go all the way back to session before last, session 15. You guys were still in New Hexton. You guys have come a long way in just 2 sessions. You guys were still in New Hexton, and I've got some questions that we're gonna ask here in a moment as well. But I did want to go back to the end of the last session, really, or like sort of the end of the last arc when you guys were in New Hexton, and I wanted to see where Kess was that might have changed due to some spoilery stuff that we'll get to here in a little bit.
Yes.
But where was Kess regarding just her general emotional state at the end of the when Sparkles hit the ground, proverbially speaking? How what was going on in her head, and then likewise what led her to the decision? Well, I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
What was Kess's general state before you guys set off on this arc that you're on now?
So, after we finished our last arc, we killed the big bad. So we think the big bad of that arc, we killed. And when she found out that once again things had to do with life well water, she's really struggling with the whole destiny question. Like, is this destiny? Am I on the right path? I guess I'm supposed to be here. You know, just like she's struggling with the whole why me thing. And she also wanted answers. Like, when she found out that I don't even know what you call it. What would you call that? Like that pool of like black inky stuff that was in the fight.
Sure.
Okay. When she found out that was actually just like corrupted life well water, she straight up was like, I demand, the goop. She was like, I demand answers.
Hold on, wait. I'm pretty sure Goop is like copyrighted at this point by Gwyneth Paltrow. So like, let's veer away from
the inky life well goop. Yeah. Anyways.
You still said Goop. Go ahead.
But life well goop is the whole thing, so that's a little different. Anyways.
I mean, yeah.
Anyways, she wanted answers about the water.
So is that sort of what was driving you, like your quest for answers? Is that sort of what was your driving force to sort of go into I won't even say go into the next arc, but some of the things that happened next? Because right at the end of that fight, there was this really, like, I saw it so visually, like cinematically in my head, where Kess was just sitting in the dirt in front of this like puddle of life well water. And that was like this really powerful moment, and just that the mystery that was sort of surrounding her at that point in time. And then fast forward a little bit, you guys go to the magistrate's office where you guys had left him. You guys had left his lifeless corpse in a closet after he had offed himself. Due to pressure from Jindy and Pierce.
Yes.
And so when you got there, you actually were the one to notice that there was something hinky afoot. You noticed this liquid dripping out from the outside of the house. And at that point, it became clear. I don't want to speak for Kess or anyone else, but one thing led to another, and then Kess decided that the smartest thing she could do at that point was drink this life well water that she had.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shut up and just let you kind of explain, not necessarily explain, but just
my stomach hurts.
Just walk us through.
Okay.
Why someone would do that.
Okay. So, after the session where we scooped up the lifebell water and like at the end of the fight, right? And Kess had some. She's trying to think of any possible way she could get answers about what this is. And if the corrupted lifewell water killed people, then what did the good lifewell water do? So that was already in her head. That was in her head the second. That's what she was sitting there thinking, like, whenever she was just like sitting in the dirt, like in the water. Like, she was just like, okay, I need answers. Why does this have to do with me? Why does this keep happening to me? How can I get answers? And she had actually decided that she was going to go to Pierce and have him basically take watch while she drank it. Because she trusted him the most to either kill her if she turned into an abomination or, take, like, she just trusts him a lot to get people. And honestly, she probably would have gotten Jindy as well. But she didn't think that if he questioned her decision to drink it, she didn't necessarily think he would stop her from doing it. He would just question her about it. So she was kind of like, okay. So then whenever Dorf said, well, what happens when you drink the regular lifewell water? She was like, well, we're all thinking it.
Bottoms up.
And I'm going to just do it. And everybody's around me. I'm safe. This is a controlled environment. This is my choice. Let's see what's happened. Like, what will happen if I drink this? And it almost killed her. Knocked her out.
Yeah, 118 points of damage, if I do so recall. So, okay, after seeing how Pierce reacted and how he's acted toward Kess since then, do you think you still would have brought him in on the gag if you had known that beforehand, like knowing on this side of things how he reacted to it? Do you think you still would have do you think Kess still would have brought him into the fold on that particular scheme?
That's the thing. I couldn't use this knowledge that Locke have.
That's true.
So yeah, she totally would have still trusted him to maybe question her, but not stop her decision, basically. Now I don't know what he would do, but Spencer has feelings. And it's
we
funny.
all have feelings, Spencer.
It's funny because whenever I was thinking about it, Goon and I text all the time about everything, and it's not that we like necessarily metagame. I don't think we metagame. We might metagame. I don't know. But I was like, I think she might want to drink the water. And he was like, and I told Spencer as well, I was like, I think she might try to drink it. And Spencer said, she's just gonna drink tap water. Like, he was just like, nothing's gonna happen. She wants to drink tap water. Okay. It was not tap water.
No, it wasn't. No. First of all, there's no plumbing. Second of all, it wasn't tap water. So, okay. So
she didn't die. She did not die. She's 2 points away from being an insta
from being
kill,
actually dead, but you were very much so knocked out. Yeah.
Knocked out. Yeah. But Jindy was literally ready, like, right then. Hang on. I have command timers that I need to turn off.
Okay.
I forgot.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Yeah. So, okay. So you had this grand experiment where you thought, hey, I'll just drink this lifewell water and see what the hell happens.
It was a controlled experiment. That's the best way I know how to put it.
Would you do it again? What
Not-
would
not
Kess
now.
would do it again?
Not like now that she's already done it.
That's what I mean. Now that she has already done it and possibly
I think
learned a bit of information.
Yeah, I think that actually she might. I don't know now. After
it happened.
session 15, yes. If she wanted more information, she would have tried to go back and talk to Ash, which is who she talked to when she was laying there unconscious.
Yeah, you actually mentioned him by name in the episode.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody picked up on that because it was just so small.
Yeah, it was just sort of a gesture goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us about that moment, about like the, I guess you can call it risk and reward of what came from that interaction. Like what, I understand that there's probably a lot that you do not want to disclose, but.
Well, she hasn't told anybody what she's learned yet. Right.
Right, exactly. Like, does the knowledge that she got from that encounter change, not necessarily change anything, but like, what was her first reaction that she needed to do with that knowledge?
Well, she knows she needs to tell everybody because this is what they're dealing with. And she has some kind of lead on what it is. But now she's self-conscious because how did she find this information out? She talked to a friend while she was dead who's also been kind of following the party around in a way. And it's she's kind of like, I don't think they're going to think I'm crazy. Like, I don't know if they're actually going to listen to me is how she feels. She's like, they might just think I'm like a stupid kid who's making things up.
Sure.
Because this sounds so insane that when she was so close to death, her friend talked to her in her mind. Like, she doesn't even know how to explain it. Sorry, I'm throwing stuff on my desk because I'm
just nervous yeeting. It was a very interesting moment, and there was a lot to digest, not only like for the story as a whole, but like you guys kept me on my toes that session, just as an aside. But there was, how was Kess processing that moment versus how was Locke processing that moment?
Which moment? The Ash moment?
The moment where you're speaking to this, yes, to Ash.
Well, Locke was excited. Because
was there, what I'm asking is, like, was there a difference in Kess processing the information and the emotional moment between Locke processing the information, the emotional moment?
Always, because I am always like just excited about things, or like also was a little nervous because she was so close to death, and right. I really don't want to lose this character. and so there's always like, you have to disconnect or you're really just playing yourself, like, right. You know, and not that that's not good therapy to do. It's just,
well, a veil is always important, right?
Yeah.
Just to keep it healthy.
Exactly. And so Kess was like, she was kind of annoyed at him, but also just like in awe of him. And now she understands a little more because she's been wanting him to be around and just like be there for her. And she hasn't figured out why he just like sometimes seems so resistant to show up whenever she asks for his help or something like that. And so she was a little annoyed, but then she kind of realized, oh, there's things he hasn't told me. There's a lot he hadn't told her. He had never talked to her. It's weird. It's like was like she had an imaginary friend that wasn't imaginary, but that never really talked back to her, but he knows everything about her because she rambles. Like, that's her that's her thing. That's my thing. Um but
What was that about distinction between character and
you
player?
have to give your character something about you, and rambling is the only way I know how to RP, so that's what she gets. So
Rambling is a good RP style.
I mean,
It leads to some stream of consciousness stuff.
it's the best way for me to RP without feeling really awkward, honestly.
Well, I mean, like I said, it becomes stream of consciousness. So like you ramble a little bit, and then you sort of get the jitters out, and then at that point, what you say becomes more emotionally charged and more like in the moment with the people with whom you're role playing.
Exactly.
So like, you don't I wouldn't write off rambling as a role play style for real.
No, I mean, it's just how she is, right? Like, I think that she never. I don't think that she's always rambled her entire life. I think that growing up, she was not really listened to that much. Like, people didn't really listen to her, and she was the baby, and I think they kind of just all like she wasn't the baby in a, oh, they took care of her way. She was the baby as in she was like the annoying, like, little kid,
right?
And so
right.
I think that she didn't get listened to, and she didn't get a lot of attention. And so whenever she all of a sudden had this thing, this like person who was with her, because I don't know what all is I haven't said in game, or I haven't said anything really about Ash in game.
There's not much you've said in game besides like
I think that when
random speaking to someone who's not necessarily there.
Exactly. I think when
except for that one time he was there.
Yeah. When she had him as a friend, she told him everything all the time. Literally, it was kind of her way whenever she was traveling of like not going insane and not being afraid of things, because she had never really traveled like away from home. So I think she just like rambled and told him everything, and now all of a sudden he's actually talked back to her, and he didn't while they were traveling, because now she realizes he couldn't because he wasn't strong enough. So
what does Kess think he is? What does she perceive as their relationship?
I was talking to Spencer about this the other day. I think that it went from, I think she at first thought he was just a really like shy, quiet druid. Like, I think whenever they met, she just thought, I've never met another druid. He's a druid, but he's really shy, but he helped her. And so she just kind of thought he was a shy friend. And then now, I don't know. She might kind of think that he's stuck in between planes. And I don't think that she thinks he's necessarily like a god or anything, but I think that she thinks that he's lost all of his power. Like, whatever abilities he had, he's lost them. But at first she just kind of thought he was like her. He was just really shy and a druid, and higher level than her, definitely, because he could stay in his forms all day. And she can only stay in them a couple hours. A little bit
above the table thinking there.
Yeah,
Lon,
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, she thought he was like more powerful than she is.
Sure.
But
so what does she perceive? Not necessarily what does she perceive, but like, what does she expect, or what does she hope to get out of a relationship? Like whatever sort of relationship that this is, whatever sort of conversational. Because like she's very clearly able to do some kind of call and response with him, at least sometimes. So, Spencer. So, like, what does she think she can accomplish with his help? Or has she thought that far ahead at this point?
She doesn't know that much about being a druid. And she knows what she knows because he sent her to the well keepers. Like,
and all of this is stuff that the audience doesn't necessarily know about.
No, they know that because if they've seen the episode where she almost killed herself, she asked him why he sent her
that's
to the
right.
well keepers.
That's right.
So she, wanted knowledge and to not be alone while she was traveling, a little bit of extra protection. And now that she knows that has some form of he's some form of like humanoid, right? Like that he has a form and that he's attractive, she's like, oh dang.
Oh no, he's hot.
I mean, that's how that's just kind of how she is. So it's just now he's given her some answers about the main questions she has, which is the life well water, and what it has to do with and all of that. And even though she doesn't have all the answers, now she's just she's more intrigued because he's helped her so much, and for her to know that she's helping him in some way, now she's kind of like, well, how can I help him more? So I don't necessarily, I almost think she kind of thinks of it as like a debt. I don't think that she's wanting something out of it actively. I think that she's kind of just like, he's helped me so much and I'm helping him, but I didn't realize I was helping him. But how can I help him more? Because I do care, Yeah, this is Spencer's ship, Kess and Ash.
Ash with his brief appearance and his many ships already sailing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean,
moving on.
That was my ship at first, but I sell mini ships.
Ships.
I build ships and
many
send them
ships
off.
in the harbor.
Yeah, all the ships.
All the ships.
I didn't jump ship, Spencer. I did not jump the ship. He's yelling. We're yelling at each other. Sorry, Spencer.
Now is not the time for that. Okay, so moving on just a little bit, unless you have any other thoughts or any other thing that you think is interesting regarding that particular interaction.
I just want to say I'm not saying that I don't ship it, because he is attractive, and I really want to show everybody
I described the images, I described the thing. I described his sexy arms. It's a thing.
We love
Steph
arms.
is right. You can't sell two ships. So
yes,
moving
you can.
On,
you can totally sell two ships.
Moving on. I'm kidding. So after that moment and that interaction, you guys, Kess basically just got up and brushed the dirt off of her clothes and was ready to move on. That was is that a correct thing to say? She was fearless going into that and she was fearless still coming out of it.
Yeah, because it was her decision and everything worked out exactly like she planned. I mean, she didn't know what was going to happen, but she knew if something happened, she would be fine. That Jindy was there, everybody was there, and she would be okay. And once they found out what the water would do to somebody, maybe they'd have a little more answers. And she got even more answers because of Ash than she even thought. So she woke up and she was like, nobody else drank that water. But yeah, this worked. She was just kind of kind of proud, in a very stupid way.
In a very chaotic way.
She's very dumb. She's not dumb.
I don't think she's dumb.
She's not dumb, but well, I mean, she's
reckless.
She's reckless.
She's a tank, right? Mm-hmm. She's the rushes in tank.
Yeah.
Like fearless if it advances goals.
Impulsive. Yeah, that's a
impulsive
good word
is
for
a very good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on just a little bit from that, you guys made your way toward Saihoff. You spent a couple of days traveling. On the evening, this actually brings us to a listener question. If I can find it.
Okay. Here's the
Yes, if you have questions that you would like to submit for us to answer,
there's the link. I posted it.
There's the link. Okay, Miss Curry actually
ditzy. I think she's young.
Right.
She's naive.
Right.
But I don't know if I'd go with ditzy.
Yeah, no, ditzy is ditzy implies like
when she acts ditzy, she does it on purpose because she's a con artist.
I don't necessarily think that she's ever even acted. Well,
she has.
I mean, she might have acted it.
People have asked her questions, and she's kind of just been like, I don't know, but she definitely does it on purpose.
Yeah, I think it's more of a it's more of a naivety in progress. Like she is a little bit naive, but at the same time, because of her background, she has very I don't know. It's a weird dichotomy because, like, at the same time, she's very naive because she's never really been outside of her home until very recently. Mm-hmm. But now she's like getting to use some of, like I said, because of her background, which I think you've talked a little bit about in the past. She's getting to use a little bit of the street smarts that she actually has, which is fun.
She doesn't realize that the street smarts that she has is not necessarily common sense. She thinks it's all the same.
Right.
So
which is beautiful, by the way.
She thinks that she has common sense, but common sense is situational. So she has it
subjective.
at home and with her, like, with what she grew up doing. Yeah, subjective is a good word for
subjective
it.
And relative.
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Curry asks, what does Kess think about the ghost that's swirling around the tiny hut? Does she think it's connecting to the life well water or the storms/portals?
I think that she thought it was connected to the storms and the portals. I don't know if she thinks that it's connected to the life well water because they haven't. Every time life well water comes up, it's almost like she can't believe that it's happening again until it happens. And so she's in denial until she sees it for her own, like, with her own eyes, right? But with the portals and the storms, I think that she kind of thinks that those ghosts are the spirits of people who have been had their lives taken from the portals and storms. So that's kind of how she views that, because it was all too close. Everything was happening kind of too close to everything else. And she was like, well, I mean, if a lot of people are losing their lives, these ghosts would be the spirits of the people who lost their lives. So she has nothing to base that off of. It's just coincidence to her.
Just a thought that's crossed her mind that she's kind of as an operating base of knowledge moving forward, that she's trying to, like, well, maybe if this is the case, then that explains some of this other stuff that's going on, sort of something like that. Mm-hmm. So moving on from that encounter, you guys actually make it into Paxton, which is a town that Zephy had told you guys was demolished. And while you're there, you encounter these three new characters, Brenna, Nicole, and Mix. and there was kind of a contentious meeting between that party and yours.
Mhm.
Did Kess have any like initial any sort of initial reaction to those characters?
I think that she could sense that everything was just too stressful, like that it didn't have to be stressful. I think that, I think that Nicole, like, she just instantly was like, no, these are good people and they're just doing something really stressful right now. And so, of course, they're stressed and we're stressed. And so, like, at one point, like, I know Pierce said that he, like, pulled his gun out and she was just going to kind of step in between, like, wherever, like, his gun was and whoever he was aiming it at. Like, she just didn't want to cause any trouble because she could tell that, like, tension was just really high and that it was just kind of, I don't know, like, she didn't think, oh, we're gonna fight these people. She's like, oh, we don't have to, like, these are not people we want to fight. We don't have to fight them. So did that answer it? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it totally did.
Okay.
Just sort of as far as the tension around that moment.
Yeah.
And around, like, sort of basically a standoff between Brenna and Pierce.
Yeah. She was gonna step between whoever shot, just because she wants to protect Pierce, and then she also, in that moment, didn't want to see anybody else get hurt if they didn't have to. She just kind of, you know, wants to throw herself in front of bullets for people, I guess. But
that is very on brand for Kess, as we've seen her so far. So after that, you guys sort of meet and learn what this group of people is doing and learn that you kind of have a shared objective and learning about these storms. And you guys start moving towards Sci-Hoff. And as you're very near the entrance to Sci-Hoff, another of these odd freak storms occurs. And spoiler alert, Kess died. So what like most of the questions in the Slido link have to do with this exact moment, which is a moment that I, as a DM, had never experienced before.
Yeah.
So
I keep saying it's my first character death, but we had character deaths in a one shot that we did, but that was literally like
first campaign.
They were throwaway characters, it's a different thing. And everybody was supposed to die. Like, that's what happened.
One shot characters are built to die.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead with your question. I cut you off.
Well, let me just see what people want to know about that exact moment. Because if you guys, again, we gave the spoiler warning, so I see Valkyrie with an alarm.
No, Valkyrie knows.
There in chat. Valkyrie knows.
Yeah.
So, but between those two moments, Anonymous asks for Zach, what's the point spread on Locke dying in the next game? It's I mean, at this point we're 2 out of 3, right? So, you know, take that for what it's worth. Anonymous also asks, I mean, basically. So Anonymous does ask, Kess, how did it feel emotionally to die, especially knowing that you chose it for yourself not so long ago? And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but if you want to elaborate on the difference between those two, which you touched on a little bit.
So, if you guys haven't watched it and you don't care about spoilers and you're just here to want to talk about D&D, or you're catching up with us currently, like, I rolled a natural 1. In a natural 1 is the only way you take damage situation, and if you take that damage, it's going to be a lot. And I rolled a natural 1. And the difference in that versus her drinking the life well water and it almost doing the exact same thing, it was 2 damage points away from doing the exact same thing. was the life well water. She was in complete control. She thought she was in complete control of the situation. It was her decision. It was how she was going to find out answers. She was with everybody. Everybody was thinking it anyways, and she just did it. And she had been thinking about it. It was a controlled situation. This was completely different. She literally stumbled and died. She fell and died. That's huge emotional difference for her, because she went from not being afraid of anything to tripping, falling, and dying, and now I haven't exactly sorted out if she's now terrified of everything yet, because honestly, that's not fun to play that way. But she's definitely damaged. Definitely, kind of very much so freaked out now.
Sure. I mean, it's a traumatic experience. Do you, and a lot more questions in the Slido are about this. Anonymous also asks, has Kess become more cautious going forward? Is that one of the things that you are still internally like working on? Or is that one of those things that you think Kess will tell you when the time comes, whether or not she's cautious about A or B?
I've been working through things this past week. I've been writing a lot, like possible scenarios that will probably never happen in the game, but just to throw myself into them to see how she feels about things.
Fanfic.
And I think that she's definitely going to be more cautious for herself, but I think that she's going to be even more reckless and fearless to protect others. Like, I think she's gonna want to be more cautious for herself, so when the time comes, she can not let any of her friends die. Now that she's experienced it.
You think like a cocktail of 1 part, a little bit more caution, 2 parts, enhanced protection of everyone around her.
Yes, which that enhanced protection can also make you reckless, right?
Sure.
Like,
which is one of the, ironies of life, right?
Yeah. I think that, if it's just something where the stakes only have to do with her, she's going to be a little more careful with it. But if somebody falls off a cliff, she's going to dive after them,
It's very interesting. So
whereas she's not going to dive off the cliff or just like, her.
So what you're saying is a near-death experience for Kess has almost more to do with the people around her than it does for her herself. Do you want to elaborate on that? Like, does it like in what ways is it like you said that she's going to be like more cautious for herself, but it seems like her motivation to do that is because of others. Yeah. So would you say that like others is the driving factor there rather than herself almost dying? It's like, what does she think, like what goes through her head that would have happened if she had not come back? Like, what is she worried about? What would have happened to the party? What would have happened like on this quest that they're on?
Yeah, I think that basically she thinks that she was given a second chance because she is supposed to protect her friends. And it does freak her out, and she's gonna have to get used to that. Like, she already would do it, but it was different. She's kind of doing it for different reasons. Like, before, she was doing it to show off and to get attention and to be like, look at me, look at what I can handle. Like, I can do this. I'm totally capable. Whereas now she's gonna do it literally because she doesn't want anybody else to go through death like she did.
It's powerful stuff.
I think it made her grow up a little. I don't know how much yet. I have no clue how much yet.
Was that an immediate thing, or do you think that's the kind of thing that?
I don't think it's immediate.
Do you think it's like, you know, you think it's more of like she has a wound, and that wound has to heal, and when it does, it's going to heal stronger and a little bit more grown up, like you said?
Yeah, I think that it's gonna make her constantly think back to her dying, and then she's gonna have to just kind of grow up a little, and I don't know. Been humbled. I guess that's a good way of looking at it. I don't know if she's humble.
Well, you can be humbled without being humble.
Yeah.
Humble is relative.
I just think that before she was throwing herself into danger because she was like, well, I can do this. I got this. Like, I can take hits, and I, kind of want to show off, and I can do all this cool stuff. And now it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I derailed the conversation.
No, it's called spilling the ale, not keeping the ale neatly in the glass.
True.
So pour it out, man. Anonymous asks, how many diamonds does the party have left? AKA, how many more resurrections can the party pull off? Are you guys out? You guys are out.
We're out. That was our only diamond.
That was the diamond that you got from King Tam in like session 4.
Yeah. Well, we found it in session 3.
It was early.
Or we found it in session 2. No, session 3. It kept it and didn't give it to him in session 4 whenever he got resurrected.
But yeah, it was an earring that you guys found.
It was an earring.
So.
Yeah, we don't have any lifelines.
Does Kess know that, do you think? She's probably aware of that. Do you think that's going to factor into her newfound semi-caution?
Yeah, I think that she feels guilty that she was the one that they had to use it on.
Interesting.
Because
Interesting.
She's supposed to be able to take hits. She's supposed to be the one that can deal with taking a lot of damage. So, but here's the thing. She thinks that because when she decides to take a lot of damage, she's in her wild shape forms, and she has an extra 50 HP on top of what she already has. So in order for something to insta-kill her like that killed her if she's in wild shape form, it would have to be 160 damage or 170 damage. So she's like, I can take that. I can take damage if I'm in control of the situation and if I'm tanking it, right? But
this was just a random chaos moment.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's just kind of like, I'm supposed to be the one that diamond was never supposed to be used on, but it was used on me.
Do you think that guilt? What do you think it's the near-death experience itself, or not even near-death experience, but dead experience? Do you think that the experience, what begets what in this situation? Is it that the guilt comes from the near-death experience, and then the guilt makes her grow, or is the guilt just like a secondary or tertiary thing? Does that make sense?
It's an extra thing.
So it's the guilt is not necessarily what you think is going to be pushing her moving forward, like her growth.
I don't think so.
Why is that, do you think? Because guilt for is it just because you think she the way she processes guilt and the way that she grew up is a little bit different than most people, or does it just feel like it's more of she doesn't want this to happen to anyone else?
I don't.
And then the guilt is just kind of an extra thing for her.
Yeah, the guilt is an extra thing. She just doesn't want anybody else to experience death like she just did. But the guilt is an extra thing exactly for the reason that you said. I don't think Kess's backstory has been completely spilled, but she's used to feeling guilt and then letting it roll off of her because that's how she grew up. Like, that's
Do you
what
think this
she
guilt will
was
linger?
taught. I have no clue. I don't know. I know she's guilty. I don't know if it's going to be fixed by her purchasing another diamond with her own money and giving it to Jindy. I don't know if it's going to be fixed from her growing up or, you know, kind of talking out emotions. I don't know how it's going to get fixed exactly. I just know that she does feel a little guilty that she tripped and fell and had to take the party's only diamond, basically. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, there's only so much I can work through in a week of character therapy.
Sure.
Especially and whenever I'm not actively role-playing. So things will happen in RP that I will not even realize she felt that way.
And that's another like bitch about guilt, right? Is that guilt does not exist in a vacuum. It expands or contracts based on your surroundings. Mm-hmm. So based on what's happening around you, that might determine whether or not that guilt stays or it goes.
I could see her getting rid of the guilt easily by purchasing diamonds for the group.
Sure.
I think she's more ashamed, and I think the shame is what.
Oh, okay. Shame and guilt are.
That's the best way to put it, because she, you know, in her head is, you know, not. I mean, she felt like she was invincible, and I know you're not supposed to say that to the DM because the DM will straight up kill you, but the DM did kill her, so I can say that now. She, you know, was just kind of like, come on, like, give me all you got. I'm not gonna die.
Do you think, like, speaking of that, like, and this is just kind of like us talking at this point. This isn't like a listener question or anything, but do you think that happening, you guys as a party have really swatted down like every encounter that you've had up until this point, like handily, because you guys are like stacked.
We're strong.
Like you started at level 5, but you've got, you know, you as a tank, and druids are broken anyway, and then Q is the best build I've ever seen for a warlock, bar none. So good. And like, you know, Jindy is a healer, Dorf is a fighter with magic powers, and Augustus, everything Augustus can do, and then Pierce had, I think, 40 hits in one round, or 40 HP in one round that he knocked down one time. So you guys are just stacked. So do you think that encounter and seeing that, I know you can't speak for everyone else in the party, but do you think that maybe that encounter and that happening to Kess might bring an air of vulnerability to the group, like make the group realize, okay, yeah, we're good together, but we're not perfect together?
I think that it already did. So I've watched it a lot. After I rolled that natural 1, everybody still had to make another check. And Jen was literally going, like, because she knew if she rolled a natural 1, the same thing was going to happen. It wasn't like, you know, we can't be killed. So I think that definitely we kind of all are like, oh, there are things in this game that are going to instantly kill our characters. And, like, even if it's not necessarily a boss fight, like, which, you know, we haven't fought anything too powerful, or too powerful for us, at least. This is all things you don't say to a DM, by the way. But
I'm not a DM tonight. I'm a podcast host or whatever this is.
I do think that that everybody is kind of just like, Oh, character death can be real. I had somebody say, oh my gosh, the show, it's like a real, this is real D&D. And I was like, well, yeah, it's not scripted. Like,
who said that?
I can't remember. It was, I've DM'd a lot of people about it because we haven't been talking about everything that's happened in Discord because we don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Yeah. So anytime anybody has anything to say about it, I'm like, just DM me. And it wasn't a DM, but I just think it's hilarious.
How many separate DM threads would you say that you have about this? Also, while she's counting, Mike is having a moment in chat. You have 8 conversations going on. Mike is having a moment in chat. I don't know if you saw it, Locke. He didn't realize that it was his dice that he sent you.
Yes!
Yeah.
Your dice killed me! This one!
It's such a good die, though.
This is the worst thing is that this dice was rolling so well for me all session, and Zach literally was like making fun of it. He was like, gosh, why can't you roll bad?
You rolled a 47 perception or some nonsense. Like, it was, but it
was a 27, but I rolled a 19 and I have a +8. Like, come on.
Right.
It did not balance out. Death is not balancing things out.
A little bit.
It rolled a natural 1 when I didn't need it to at all. Like,
what is the average of 47? Which I'm at. So, okay, there's 27 plus 1 divided by 2. So, okay, the average of that is 14. So that kind of evened out a little bit to about average, but that doesn't matter. So.
Mike, it was your dice. I don't know how I feel about it. Everyone's asking me if I'm going to throw it away. I'm not going to throw it away.
Use it on those particular rolls.
I think I'm going to... No. God, I don't know. I don't know if I'm not going to use it anymore, and I'm going to just keep it on display in front of me to remind me that death can happen in D&D. or what? Because I do have another dice that Mike got me that's really, really good as well. But now I'm afraid of it too. Wash the bad off. Like, I heard Laura Bailey say one time that whenever there's a full moon, she's like, she had a cursed dice like in one episode of Critical Role, and she was like, it's a full moon out. I think I'll take my dice out and cleanse them and do like a ritual and like cleanse the badness from my dice so I can use them again.
That's fair. That actually brings us into another question from another anonymous. And guys, I swear, it's okay. You can put your names on this, but are you gonna even put a made up name? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make up a name, like Griffin McElroy. Anonymous, who I'm going to call Ubi John. Ubi John asks, I saw the word Ubisoft and I thought of the name John. Anyway, Zach, how much has Critical Role, this actually can be for both of us, I do believe. How much has Critical Role influenced your DMing? Also, have you checked out Penny Arcade Acquisition Incorporated? They play with people from Wizards of the Coast. So, okay. Every D&D stream, every TTRPG stream exists because of Critical Role, I think, basically. Like, it all stemmed from that, like, more or less, the popularity of that. And like, I'm not saying that every stream is necessarily directly influenced by that, because everybody likes different things, but they really fostered in the phenomenon of like telling these types of stories in this way.
They kind of made it possible for everybody else too. Like,
right, exactly. So I don't know, I think of myself kind of like, as I learn and grow as a DM, I think of myself as like 2 parts Griffin McElroy, 1 part Matt Mercer, but then that kind of shifts back and forth. And then there's also like a little bit of like just me making stuff up in there as I, continue to learn and continue to grow. But there is definitely Critical Role influence in the show. There's definitely Adventure Zone influence. I have not seen Acquisition Incorporated, but I do love Penny Arcade. So that is something that I need to look into at some point in time. But there's a million ways that Critical Role and all of these like really popular TTRPG streams have influenced not only us but like storytelling as a whole, because you've got Critical Role, who raised, what was it, 11-12 million dollars. Like it's the highest grossing Kickstarter of all time to create an animated series based on their show.
Yeah.
And it confused everyone in Hollywood at the time. Like this was just like a year and a half ago, but like since that time, the Adventure Zone has gotten, like, they're going to have an animated show on NBC. Like it's popularizing telling stories in this way, like telling stories for the first time in this way and then moving it to other platforms. This is a very long-winded way of saying, yes, everything is inspired by a little bit of everything, but we try to make it our own, for sure. Or at least I try to my DM style is very much so influenced by DMs that I see. And also DN Desserts, who is our DM in our home game, I'm influenced by her style a lot.
Well, she was our first DM, so of course,
yeah, exactly.
That's where you learned how to play D&D at her table.
Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly. So like, there's influence like picked and chosen around all over the place. But like, what about you, Luck? Like, how has, like, you and I both like fell in love with D&D, like first like playing D&D in our home game, but also like watching Critical Role and listening to the Adventure Zone. So like, how would you say that those things have influenced you and the characters that you build?
I mean, my ranger multi-classed into cleric because of Jester, like, because she made
your home game ranger
in our home game, yeah, because she made playing a cleric look like so much fun. And at first I like looked at cleric and just wrote it off because I thought it was just like a healer, but she plays it so differently that which they make fun of her for, because they're always like, oh, you heal, like you're a cleric. But you know, that's one reason I wanted to even play a cleric at all. So yeah, they influence the heck out of me, and I love it.
Would you say that, like, because like you said that the way Laura Bailey plays Jester on Critical Role, specifically in the Mighty Nine, you said that like that is an influence, and you said that the way that she plays a cleric is so different from the way that it's written in, you know, the player's handbook, sort of like your instinct gut reaction. And then on this very show, Goon mentioned, I think, was it the last one? I can't remember, that Kess is, granted, Kess is a druid that's very different from a cleric, but when you think druid, you have a very specific mental image of what a druid is going to be. Kess is absolutely not that.
Right.
So would you say that, like, not necessarily that watching Critical Role influenced that, but sort of that imaginativeness? I'm gesticulating and it's changing my focus. Would you say that, like, seeing that sort of creativity and character building on screen was like influenced you and helped you, like, oh, I can tweak this druid and make this emo druid, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Because you see their characters and you're like, oh my god, that's just so bizarre. It's like it makes you want to think outside the box. Like, it makes you like look for the things outside the box that you can connect your character to. So yeah. And Goon also like helped me a lot because he, like, Kess really is like very roguish.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how he plays Q as a ranger who's a warlock. Kess is a druid, or a rogue who's a druid. Like,
right.
You know.
And it's fun that you can do that in D&D without necessarily multi-classing. Like, I've got a monk in our home game, and, you know, my monk is a rogue who's a monk, basically.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's always fun to do things like that. And that's another one of those things that, like, Critical Role and shows like that really allowed us to see these things in a different way. And after seeing it and after having played D&D and seen all these streams, it's like you see it everywhere. You see these different types of characters and these character tropes tweaked ever so slightly to be fantastic. Like not just in TTRPG streams, but like movies, books, video games. Like you see it everywhere, which is another thing that I love about this game.
I agree. And I think it's okay to let yourself be influenced by other
oh yeah, 100%.
shows.
I don't think there's any implication otherwise.
I mean, don't go create Jester and call her Hester.
That would that would be problematic to say the least.
But let yourself be inspired by others for sure.
We have another question from Anonymous, who I'm going to call Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim asks, Zach, what was going through your head when Locke rolled the nat 1? This is a very quick answer. I hope Jindy has Revivify prepared. That's exactly what was going through my head. That and like a whoopee cushion noise was intensifying and harmonizing in my head when that happened. It was just like
it wasn't just like wah wah.
The Price is Right theme song was playing, the intro main theme song, and then it went straight from that to and then whoopee cushions. That's what happened.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting a raid. Raid.
Thank you for the raid. Hi. We're having
Hello, Raiders.
D&D night. D&D talk show night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have other questions from Slido that I would like to get to. Slido.
Yeah.
I
mean, there's all the...
Okay. We talked about Critical Role. What other influence, like just week in, week out, going from, like, are there any influences besides like TTRPG streams? Like, are there like anything that you consume that influences the way that you play D&D on the nights that we play?
What do you mean? Like other
shows
like, that we watch, or other?
Not necessarily other shows, but like, is there any other place besides D&D Beyond or thinking about your character? Is there any other place that you draw inspiration from?
I mean, music. Like we have. I have a Kess playlist.
What's your favorite song on your Kess playlist? Like, what do you think is the most Kess?
I don't know. It's changed so much this past week since she died.
Give me 5.
No.
Give me 3.
I mean, you're like, they're all so random.
It doesn't matter. Are you scrolling through the playlist now?
I don't know.
There is such art to a character playlist, and if you're in chat and you play D&D and you've never made a character playlist for yourself, or if no one's ever made one for you, you should play with that, because it is a very fun thing, very cathartic, and you'll find your character in songs that you never would have thought about. Goon, who plays Q on SAS, is I don't know how he does it. He is the absolute best at coming up with character playlists. It is bonkers. Did he help with a Kess playlist, or was that just you?
No, nobody else has listened to it besides me, because there's
and me.
Well, yeah, but there's just so much random stuff on there. It's all like super like girly pop music, like not pop. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain the type of music it is, though. But
it's a very diverse playlist. So if you're not going to share any of it, we can move on. And this is something we've talked about as a group. I think the answer is no for you, and I would like to know about everyone else who is in SAS. But do you have a backup character ready in case Kess dies for real? You don't? Do you have like the Travis Willingham approach where you're just like, you don't really want to cheat on your characters?
I didn't think that I did, but I do. Like, I didn't think that that's why. I just thought, oh, it's because I don't have enough time. But I've actually like tried to think about it, and I just can't. So
you just don't have the emotional availability to process what if that did happen.
Yeah, that's why I've had such a hard time this week with my emotions, is because it almost did happen, and I'm broken.
And you would have had to come up with a character in a span of 2 weeks, and we would have
Well,
had
here's
to
the
write a
thing.
backstory and put that into the campaign that we got.
Kess has an item. She could still exist. Technically. Would be the most annoying thing in the world.
To DM for? Yeah, it would be. But it would be a good story. But it would be complicated. But that's enough mystery. Do you...
I can probably see that item on her character sheet. I'm not sure.
Probably. Okay, so is that just for Kess or for other characters that you've played? Like for Quinn, your character in our home game, do you have that same sort of idea about her, where you're like you don't really want to have a backup character because it doesn't feel right?
No, not really for Quinn, because at one point in time I didn't think that I was going to keep playing Quinn. I thought we were going to send her home. So
Right. So you're...
I kind of just have like random, like if we did something for that, I'd probably just play something fun and not worry about it too much and play a class that I've never played, because we're so close towards the end of we're not close to the end of the campaign, but we're getting there with that one, and I don't want to just start a brand new character that I want to put a lot into.
To be clear, not with SAS.
Not with SAS.
This is with our
with our other one.
We're still pretty early on the SAS train. Anonymous, who I'm going to call Firefox, asks, was the lounge comfy the night you killed Kess? Kappa. Also a very easy answer to the question. She didn't come to bed that night, so I mean, basically not. You're up until like 6 a.m.? Yeah. So
Yeah.
she was the one on the lounge that night.
I couldn't sleep.
But like it's not like you have this. It's part of the game. Like it's this scary part of the game, but part of the game nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. But that's not the first time.
I'm mad at Mike.
Coming this fall to NBC, Mad at Mike. He sends dice that roll real nice, except for sometimes they don't. We're mad at Mike. Anyway, that's the end of that. So
I'm not mad at you,
scrolling
Mike.
through the questions.
I'm mad at the dice.
Miss Curry has a question for me. How do you decide how to present an NPC, accent, mannerisms, etc.?
Good question.
That is a good question. I wish I knew the answer.
Make sure I have headphones on before he practices any voices.
Always. Or I practice voices walking around my neighborhood sometimes. Less now that it's the winter months, but I've gotten some strange looks.
Everybody freaking thinks we're insane.
I practice the accents like in the car, which COVID times, not in the car very often, but like if I have to go pay the water bill or go pick up a pizza or something, that happens sometimes. But as far as like what I decide on first, I decide what the group like. You've got your NPCs that you don't expect to happen, and then you've got characters like Riddick, who I planned, or most recently like Nicole and Brenna and Mix. With that one, I'm worried about that one. I'm worried about that one as like a performer and a DM, because I did this thing and it was smartish. Like it was kind of smartish. I provide. You've got 3 characters.
Hang on, you froze. You're fine.
I froze.
You're good.
Okay. With Brenna and Mix and Nicole, you got 3 characters who are very, 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 very different, but they're all played by me, who has one voice. So I wanted to like create accents and voices so that way you immediately knew the difference between all 3 of them. So with that, it was just like, okay, I need to sort through these and figure out a way that I can make these characters sound completely different. So that way they know it's not just all one personality. Does that make sense at all? Like, so that way there's 3 distinct different characters.
She said specifically what was the inspiration for the NPC named after me, because I'm going to drive Bad Curry crazy saying darn tootin'.
darn tootin'. That was basically like, I had the, Okay. You want to know what it was? In She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, Doctor, what's her name? Octavia. What's the doctor's name in She-Ra, who's kind of got a little bit of like a Midwestern accent going on. Like whenever Entrapta. Yeah. So when I was watching that, I loved her so much, and I loved her voice, and that's such a distinct voice. And I was like, okay, this is going to be slightly different from like an English or an Irish accent, and I'll be able to do this, and people will know that there's a little bit of a difference. But also, like, Nicole is very much so the leader of the group, and I thought that type of accent was a fun. I thought it would just be fun for like the leader of the group to not be just like, because like, yeah, with Brenna you've got a fun English accent, which is fun, but she's sort of the scientist of the group. It mainly comes down to trying to figure out a way that the audience is able to separate the three in their head. You are smart, Narwhal. Thank you for giving me Entrapta. But yeah, it's basically, I don't know that I'm good at it yet, but I would like to become good at it. So I just come up with wacky stuff like having 3 characters. But it's kind of tough to go back and forth between English and Irish and Midwestern. But you know, I'll try for you guys.
You're doing good.
Thanks. Actually, I have a spin on that question for Locke. How, like, you don't necessarily do a character voice for. No. It's not that you don't necessarily do a character voice for Kess, but how do you? Are there any like certain ways that you? Are there different parts of your voice that you access for that character? Like, yeah. in order to communicate, is there anything like that you like? Do you know what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, but
I feel like I'm not making sense.
I don't know the answer, honestly, because I wanted Kess to have an accent, and then whenever it got right down to it, I decided not to, because I didn't want to stress myself out with an accent playing D&D. I wanted to have fun.
Well, you see, I mean, that's valid though, because it's not even necessarily that you wanted to have fun. It's that it's another bit of that, how thin that veil is between you and the character, because it is basically and like most of the characters that I've seen in other places, it's like very similar to their own voices.
Yeah.
So like, do you feel that brings you closer to the character even?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like with Kess, I try to make her. So whenever I ramble, I feel like and I'm doing it right now, I pause and I stop.
Ramble away.
I have a lot of like pausing and just like trying to think about things. And I feel like with Kess, I just try to make her go as fast as she can and like truly ramble, right? Like with like word vomit without thinking about anything. And like with Quinn, like my other character, she's a lot more quiet and reserved. And when she does say something, it's either something funny or something serious. Like she doesn't normally just talk to be talking. And I feel like Kess talks to be talking because she wants the attention, and wanting the attention is not the best way to put it. She wants to feel like she's useful and like people should take her seriously. I don't know. That didn't really answer anything about the voice, but it's just...
I think it did. I think it absolutely did. Like you saying like the different types of rambling, like I would absolutely consider that a character choice, because you Locke are probably much more insightful than Kess is, whereas Kess is very impulsive. So like the different things that you can add to that character, I mean, it makes sense.
So I overthink everything before I say it, and that's why I pause a lot, and that's why I talk able to just like slowly. And Kess just blah 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 blah.
So you're able to just turn that off when you're playing Kess?
Yeah.
Have you ever turned that off not playing Kess? Okay.
I'm afraid to.
So it's. But now that you, did Kess make you realize that you do have that switch?
Yeah, and I didn't really think I was doing a good enough job of being of making Kess different, than me. But once I realized I did have something a little different that I gave her, and I gave her, I guess it's more of a speech pattern kind of thing. I felt a little better about it. But Valkyrie said,
No, I
What,
Valkyrie? What is dude? What you talking about? One more question for me, and then I have a final for Locke. What's it like dungeon mastering for a bunch of wonderful knuckleheads? There are a lot of dungeon masters in the world, and most of them DM for a bunch of wonderful knuckleheads, but I have the wonderfulest bunch of knuckleheads that I get to DM for, and they are so very good, and I love them. And you guys, it's like that meme of like the iceberg and what you see on stream versus what happens. Our Discord, like we have a SAS Discord, and it's very active, and we've got people giving like character inspiration pictures.
7 people.
7 people. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I mean when I say active. But like people are always posting like D&D memes, whether it's jokes like memes or it's we have a channel literally called I have no idea where this name came from, but Pictographic Inspirationalisms, where we just put like aesthetic things for the characters, and we have a channel where people can just sort of like role play between like think in as the character would think between sessions. So it's wonderful knuckleheads is a very good way of putting it. And not to mention, like, we get to have like there's all this insightful stuff that we have, and then there's also our eel games and our fillet of fish moments and all of just like the chaos that ensues. I am emotional about our party, and then like I'm emotional about how good they are. What about you, Locke? What's it like to play with a bunch of wonderful knuckleheads?
Oh my god, Jim, thank you for gifting five subs.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry. Thank you. Love you. Okay. What is it like to play with a bunch of knuckleheads? Is that what you said?
Play with this specific group of knuckleheads, yes.
I mean, I never know what's gonna happen. Like,
right.
I never know.
It puts a whole new spin on improv.
Yeah.
Like, boy howdy.
For real though, like they're all great, and I'm really liking seeing everybody's characters develop.
There's been a lot of that in the past 4 sessions or so. It seems like there's a lot going on.
I actually can't believe there hasn't been any questions about a certain 2 party members. To be honest.
I mean, I asked some. There weren't any in the Slido link, but I asked a couple about, you know, Pierce's reactions to the things that she did.
Yeah.
Like, do you think, like, just in closing, before we, you know, head into our last question, which I can't remember what it is. I should try to remember that. Who do you think is going to be, like, do you think Kess is planning on telling anyone in the group about what she saw not when she died, but when she made the choice to drink the life well water? So was she planning on telling the group even after that? And then what happened in the last session before you had a chance to do anything? Did that change what you were planning on doing? What she was planning on doing, I should say.
Like what happened in the last session before she died or after she died?
I mean, after, with what you learned, with what Kess learned when she spoke to Ash, had she planned on telling the group? And did that change after she died?
Yes. She planned on telling the group. But now she's still gonna tell everybody, but she needs to talk it out first. Like,
sure. With whom?
I mean, I think we all know with whom.
Would you mind clarifying?
I mean, like she really wants to talk to Pierce. She wants to talk to Jindy and Pierce really badly. Like,
why does she think Pierce? Like, why does she, as from afar, it kind of looks as if Pierce has been kind of cold and distant to her. Why does she feel as if Pierce is the person to speak to?
Because she thinks that they're actually a lot alike. And she thinks that he might be the only one that really understands how she is. And she thinks that they fight a lot because they are so much alike.
Do you think that Jindy bringing Kess back is part of the reason that she wants to tell her about the vision that she had?
She doesn't necessarily want to tell Jindy before she wants to tell the party, but she wants to talk to Jindy, even if it's not about that.
Is she wanting to talk to Pierce and Jindy like separately and then talk to the party? Like what's okay?
Yeah, that's
separately
kind
from
of,
one another.
Yeah.
Okay.
She just has things that she wants to say to both of them that she doesn't want a bunch of eyes on her as she does it.
Sure. And that seems to be very much so a motivating factor for Kess. Like, it's kind of a weird thing because on the one hand, she's very much so the tank who rushes into battle and she's the first person. And, therefore she's not very shy and not afraid to take the lead. But in other more delicate matters, she is afraid to take the lead and she is afraid to be the one with the spotlight on her.
She normally like thrives in the spotlight. And after she died, she wanted all eyes off of her. She could not stand that everybody was around her like that, which is why she ran away.
That's why she turned into her wild shape and ran away.
Because it was easy to just let it roll off.
So she feels safer in her wild shape at that point in time, even though she's doing this. Is it like she feels like they're not looking at her, they're looking at something else, even though she is doing this very bizarre, very magical thing that most people are likely to stare at? Like changing into her wild shape? Is it because she feels like they're not looking at her anymore? They're looking at something else?
It's the exact. So we talked about it in our last episode of Spilling the Ale that I was on, where when she is in her changeling form, she feels very vulnerable and very exposed. And whenever she's in a different form, like her high elf form, she's a little more confident. But she doesn't like it. She's not comfortable in that way. And it's kind of the same whenever she she turned into a wolf just because she didn't really she wanted to get out of there very quickly. So she wanted speed. But she just didn't want eyes on her, and if she was in her changeling form, she just felt really raw, I guess. Very exposed. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't either. And that's the beauty of the game.
Yeah.
I damn sure didn't know what was going to happen last session. And it did. So, and there will be consequences. Thus is the nature of D&D. So one final question that sort of is, walks hand in hand with what we just asked. But, after everything that happened in the last session, in the last two sessions, really, does Kess feel differently about anyone in the party?
I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm
That's
gonna
okay.
know. I don't know if I'm gonna know until RP happens and she says whatever she needs to say.
So it's almost like she just.
I can't force
her.
her.
It's almost like she's waiting to tell you until the moment comes.
I can't force her to have feelings when nothing's happening.
Right.
So I don't know. That's why I'm so anxious and but excited about the next episode, is because I have no clue. I know she wants, I know how she feels about Jindy. I have no clue how she feels about Pierce.
Right.
Like, I know how I want her to feel, but I don't know if that's
When the captain's not in control of the ship.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's no secret that I ship the heck out of them, but like I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know if it made her appreciate him more. I don't know if she is now afraid of everything, including feelings and including like being like, well, if I have feelings and I just die, one of us is gonna get hurt. Like, you know, I don't know. And I don't know if she knows. So I'm just kind of.
So, can you explain the phenomenon of feeling, like, for anyone in chat who's never, like, who doesn't necessarily, if they've never played D&D or they've never, like, role-played in that way, can you explain the phenomenon of, this is a big ask for me to ask you of this.
So difficult. I know what you're going to say.
Can you explain the phenomenon of being able to feel independently as Kess from Loch?
I don't know how to explain it. It's just.
Is there any explaining it, or is that just
it? It's like you're in a play. It's like you are.
But it's happening in real time.
But it's improv. So you have this character that you're playing, and you know the character's motivations, and you know the character's, like, how they generally think about things. You know how their mind works to a point. And you can tell the difference between their reactions and yours. So like it's very weird.
It's weird, and
it's just like you're in a play. That's the
right.
It's like you're in a play, but it's an improv play. It's like you're acting, but you let the character write the script in front of your eyes.
And it's such a beautiful thing. God, I love this game. Man, improv, like.
So I know what I want Kess to feel, but she doesn't always agree.
Like improv comedy is one thing, and this game has very much so has a lot of it, especially our game. But when you talk about improv emotion, like in improv comedy, the number one rule is obviously yes and. But the second rule is don't think. Like, don't think about what you're going to say. When you're talking about emotion, you have no choice but to not think.
Yeah, that's why I think it works so well that she rambles and I don't overthink everything she says.
Exactly.
Because I just let her say whatever. It is funny, like, so Kess spent the entire last episode being, well, not the entire last episode, but you know what I'm gonna say, because I've told you this like 6 times. She spent that episode being very petty and being jealous and being so like in her head, in her feelings. And it's so funny because the second I realized she was jealous, I had this huge smile on my face. She wouldn't have been smiling, but the second I was yeah, it's like I've gone back and I've watched the episode a couple of times. And literally, like, when Pierce is talking to Brenna, the fact that like I was just like, okay, what Kess, what are you doing while everything's happening? Because you were like, does anybody have anything that they're going to be doing for the day, like any of that kind of stuff? So it's like, what is she doing in all this? And she was straight up just jealous. And the second I realized that, I thought it was the funniest freaking thing. Like,
it is.
I was just like, you're gonna be petty right now? Like, you almost died the other day, and now you're spending the day sulking because you're not getting attention from a boy. Like, come on, Kess, like, pull it together. You're stronger than this. You don't need that. Like, like, I want her to be strong, and she's just sitting back there jealous. And I just thought it was so funny that I instantly, like, it took everything I had to not, like, laugh out loud. I was just like, okay.
Right. but that's exactly what we're like. You can't think about that emotion because you wouldn't have necessarily thought to do that. That emotion just came directly from Kess.
Yeah, once it was there, I was like, well, I can't change what it is. Like, I can't sit here and be like, oh, Kess is gonna go read a book under a tree and not act like anything's bothering her when when really like she's just not okay. She's just like.
So did the near death experience have any hold on that? Like, did you were talking about the fact that she feels a lot of shame in the moments following dying and being revivified? Is that part of that shame?
She just had a very embarrassing day. Whenever you look back, the whole session, she started the session off thinking that like having fun, even though there were ghosts and they were trying to get out of combat, it was still kind of like fun to her, and she kind of felt like everything was okay, even though she had in the last session almost died, and she was the reason that she almost died. And then whenever like we got to Paxton and Pierce yelled at her after he had kind of been acting like everything was okay, she kind of felt like, because he called her stupid, and like kind of was like, you know, basically saying that she was gonna like leave her friends alone, meaning him. Kess is like, I don't know. He basically said that they were friends, but did it in a mean way or in a hurtful way because he was hurt.
Right.
And so then she kind of felt literally like a dog with her tail between her legs, like kind of, you know, like, I didn't know you felt like that, but also like, you want to talk about that here and now? Like, do you really want to talk about this right now?
You want to go there?
Because
you want to go there, buddy?
Yeah, because that's her, just like her defense. Like, she just like went into, she felt bad, but she was going to be defensive. And then the next day she spent it being jealous and petty. And then she died and came back to life with everyone standing around her, giving her the attention that she had wanted, but didn't want it in that way. And it like scared her.
Yeah, it's so like, I don't know, it's that second act awkwardness in a movie, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, it's, I don't know. It was
interesting. It was
like
just
it's, I don't know. I go back and forth between saying like, you can't write that and like, you totally can write that. And both of that is what makes it perfect.
Yeah.
Like, it was just sessions filled with great moments. You know what else is going to be a session filled with great moments? Session 17. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up for the evening, Locke?
I'm just stressed.
Oh, I am too. I've got that's one reason we got to stop is because I have to go prep somehow for whatever happens next.
Gonna watch Critical Role.
So I'm not allowed to prep tonight?
I don't know.
We're very close to catching up on the old CR.
We are.
But anyway, those of you watching, thank you all so much for hanging out. We love you so much. Jen, we wish you could have been here. We wish you could have been here tonight to have a girls' night chat. But look forward to both next episode of Spilling the Ale, which will be, if I can open my calendar real quick, by my count, that'll be February 3rd.
That's
February 3rd.
It's going to be the round table with as many people as we can get on it.
Roundtable SAS, as many people on the cast as we can get there, we'll have there. Our next session will be next Wednesday, January 27th, 7:30, right here, this channel, session 17.
If you haven't watched the last session and you want to just see Kess die, I think you can probably go back to like 20 minutes before it ends. Like,
it's around a half hour, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it's actually like 15 minutes. It's like at the very end.
It's more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
But it's very emotional and it's very real. And it's very wild. It's nothing as a DM. As a DM, it's nothing like I had ever experienced before, which was exhilarating and terrifying. But that's the game now, isn't it?
Must be.
That is the game. So, thank you all for hanging out. We love you so very much. Locke, we're going to raid somebody?
We're going to raid Steve-O.
We're going to raid Steve-O.
He's having
Mr. O. Steve.
Star Wars night.
Yeah, he is.
So
He's actually having Star Wars month right now.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars month, but they're playing Squadrons. Yeah, Squadrons.
Yeah.
So we're gonna head over there.
That's exciting. So thank you all for hanging out. Don't forget, you can find this episode of Spilling the L will be available Friday morning on YouTube. You can also watch the VOD. What else? You can catch up on the entirety of our campaign so far on YouTube or via the podcast. Don't forget, real quick before we raid, if you tweet using the hashtag Secret Adventure, then you might end up with your name in our game, just like Nicole and Brenna and Mix and Riddick and everybody else. What were you about to say, Locke?
No, just do it.
Oh, you were just agreeing. So yeah, if you tweet doing that,
think about it.
Then you might just and thank you all for all you have done to help us spread the word for the show. It makes me so happy to see new people in here every session and every Spilling the Ale.
And thank you guys for coming into our streams and stuff as well. Like,
yes, like just as cast members, like into our individual streams. I talked to so many
people about D&D this week, and it just makes me happy.
So happy. All right, raid timer's running out.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye now.